Hey everybody, Northeast here for a little top five. Everybody's favorite little top five. It's not really going to be a top five because I'm going to sneak a few extras in, but we're going to call it a top five because it gets more clicks. Um, so top five ish PSA nines, the redheaded stepchild of the sports card world, the big brother, big sister, firstborn PSA 10 gets all the glory, and the PSA 9 gets to eat at the kids' table. Everyone forgets about him. No one wants to see him. You know, you send your cards off. You don't want the nines coming home. You want them to stay away. You want the tens. But as smart investors slash collectors slash whatever we want to call ourselves these days, there's money to be made in PSA nines. And I think the opportunity, like most NBA stuff, is to buy now. So we have a few specific ones we're going to talk about. And you could probably apply this same thing to whatever trendy players that are in your wheelhouse. The other trick here is I'm going to keep pretty much all these under 75 bucks as an entry level point. There'll be one that creeps over as kind of a bonus pick, but yeah. So let's get into it. My top five PSA nines to be looking at right now. And once again, we are using the Market Movers tool set from Sports Card Investor. If you would like more information on that, link in the description below. If you have any questions, let me know. So every chart that I have pulled up is going to be a 90-day chart because I want to go back and see some of the sales history on this stuff. So let's dig it. We wouldn't be Northeast Ohio sports cards without starting off by talking about a Cavalier. And that is Mr. Trendy in the hobby himself, Mr. KPJ. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know that we love ourselves some KPJ. I have lots of KPJ. I would like more of KPJ. His PSA 9 base prism right now are going for under 30 bucks. And I'm not going to lie, I was shocked on some of these prices on these guys when I saw I could get into them for this cheap in PSA 9s. Yeah, 30 bucks for a PSA 9. You could see that this card has regularly sold at around $45 to $50 before, when the market was at its peak back in early August. And remember, this was without KPJ playing. Trust me, as a Cavs fan, we weren't one of the bubble teams invited. The Cavs were not very good this year, but they showed some flashes. Now, people like to talk up Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton's whatever. Kid can't play like a defense. I am also fairly high on Darius Garland this year. But KPJ seems to be a potential actual, like, legit, could be, I don't want to say NBA star, but like maybe like an all-star reserve type player if things go the right way. He could also easily be out of the league. Who knows? But he showed legit flashes of being pretty good. And if you're telling me I could get his PSA 9s for under $30, let's not forget, it now costs at least $15 to grade at minimum going forward. Upwards of 25 to 30 through PSA if you want a faster turnaround time. So if you're high on him at all, you're basically paying the grading fee plus a little bit to get his cards. And PSA 9 sell closer to raw when you get into lower value cards. But I just think there's a lot of value in his PSA 9 right now. And these are in not necessarily any particular order. I did save my favorite one for last. But the first bunch are not in any particular order. Also, fellow 2019 draft class E, Kobe White, PSA 9. I almost said 10. See, I almost said 10 because the 9 gets no love. I almost slipped. Kobe White, PSA 9, base prism. Going for about 40 to 45 to 50 bucks. I bought one last night for 42 on auction. These are just trending up slowly. His high points for sales were 70, a 65, a 55, recently a 77, very recently an 85. I don't know, there might be some noise in that one because when I see these big lone spikes like this, I question them a little bit. But regardless, this card definitely has some buzz to it. Kobe White's pretty buzzy. He has the Billy Donovan hire going for him now. That's a young, hungry-ish team. They're going to be buzzy heading into the season, and I could easily see this card going well above this and very quickly. If you just think the market can get at least back to where it was in August, all of these seem like very safe bets to at minimum sell before the season starts. These are all going to be some pretty trendy guys, and then you could hold most of these guys in the season as well. Hobby loves Kobe White. He's another one of these guys. I talk about him all the time. There's these buzzy guys in the hobby like MPJ, like Bull, like KPJ. Kobe White's another one that if they start dropping huge games on people, their prices are going to go crazy because the hobby loves them already. They're just waiting for them to go crazy, and it's like dumping gasoline on a fire. And he is a textbook case. He's the cover boy of the club, along with MPJ and Bull. And if you remember back before the NBA market went wild, Kobe White had like a 2-week straight stretch of just throwing up monster games, and that was off the bench. We've already seen that Billy Donovan looks like he knows what he's doing with guards. SGA really blossomed under him. CP3 played really well under him. So we will see what happens there. But Kobe White is number 2 on our not so much in any particular order list. Next up, my favorite person from last year's draft class, and that is Ja Morant. I personally like Ja better than Zion when it comes to long-term holds. I think that's a fairly no-brainer. And I cheated a little bit here. So we're talking about Ja, and I put 3 cards on here. What are you going to do? It's my list. I'll do what I want. We have Ja base optic and his select premier. I'm sorry, this is concourse and his premier. We just talked about select in a video 2 videos ago, how it's always constantly undervalued, and you could see it again here. Pop count on the optic 1300, pop count on the select concourse 300, pop count on the premier 73. That is not a lot. You think there's more than 73 people that would like a Ja Morant PSA 9 at some point in time? And the select premier are a pretty nice looking card this year as opposed to last year's. Last year's got a lot of hate. I didn't realize there was that much hate out there for 18 select premier level cards. But excuse me, scroll down here. We can see all 3 of these $75 or under. Concourse is going for around 60-ish. I'm going to say ish on a lot of these because these prices fluctuate by $5 or $10 each day, up and down. Base optic for 72 and the premiere for 75. And if you circle back to when the Grizz were making their playoff run, you could see. So, here's a cluster of some higher sales. The select concourse for 117. The optic for over 100. And the optic got all the way up to 125 for a while. And then the premiere got all the way up to also a little over 100 as well. And also, into the 80s, 90s, just kind of depending on where you're at on the charts. But moral of the story is I can easily see these cards returning to their former glories. You can see the highs here actually over the last 90 days, 112, 117, 140. I do think out of the 3, if you wanted to go with what one has the most upside, at least for a short term, it would be the optic. Optic just gets more love than select does. If I was looking to be a little cute and savvy for a long term, I would go with see if I could track down some of these premieres with a pop count of 73. Might be a little bit harder to find. These optic PSA 9s are very easy to find. There's a lot of them laying around. A lot of people open optic, a lot of people grade optic, and optic's a tough grade. Optic is a very tough grade. 4-sided white borders, nightmare to try to grade them. You go cross-eyed trying to figure out centering. Next, and this is where I cheated a little bit that we got one up over 75. And once again, I cheated because I put 2 cards on here, but it's the same player, so it counts as one. My rules, my video, my rules. And that is Donovan Mitchell optic. Meant to click the optic first. PSA 9. I included the prism, even though the prism gets usually up over 100 or right around 100 right now. You can see I have both charts up. Pink is the optic, blue is the prism. And if we come down here, you could see his optic is going for like 50 or $60 at the moment, and the prism's only going for 100. Now, once again, Prism's always going to have the higher upside than the Optic's going to. You can see down here, the Prism topped out at around 250. The Optic, we're not going to believe this 215 number. This is a weird little outlier. I don't know why this is up there like this. But in general, the Optic sold for around $100 fairly regularly and for a long period of time. The Prism regularly sold for over 175, upwards of 200 during that playoff streak. So I don't think it's much of a stretch. Does it get all the way back up to 250 again? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't think it's much of a stretch for this Prism to get back to around that $200 level. And I don't think it's much of a stretch for the Optic to get back up to a $100 level. I mean, even if it gets back up to 100, you're only paying, say 60, 65 with shipping and taxes. Uh, that's an easy potentially plus $40 depending on how you sell it, regarding fees on the other end. But still, for 50, $55, maybe less, that's a nice entry point for a Donovan Mitchell. And, who knows where his stuff goes depending on how he plays. But I like going backwards on some of these charts because it gives you an idea of where the ceiling is for these guys. The card has sold for this at one point in time in the not so distant future. It kind of gives you an idea of, if everything goes right, where can this card get to? Because we've seen it get there before. And basketball is a little safer with that. It's not like football where, someone can easily get hurt or hurt a lot easier, and end their, whole season, and the bottom falls out like a Saquon Barkley or something like that. Last but not least, and this is my favorite one out of all these, I have a couple of this card already prior to that I bought like last year, and I'm looking to get some more. And we're going back to Optic again, and that is Mr. Trae Young, Optic PSA 9. This card is currently going for about $70. Once again, give or take. I've seen him go for just under 70. I've seen him go upwards of 75, but you could generally get him for around 70. And you can see at one point in time when Trae Young had his little weird run that, he wasn't even in the bubble wire, Trae Young's prices going up, period of life. This got up to $150 for his PSA 9. Do I think that's necessarily realistic? Sure. I think more likely 120 to 125, but remember, when Trae Young was playing last, the newer NBA market didn't quite exist. It was bubbling. It was percolating. It was there, but it wasn't unleashed yet. So imagine, if you will, fast forward 3-6 months, whenever NBA basketball comes back, Trae Young having a Trae Young week where he's going like 50 points, 55 points, 47 points, 39 points in 4 straight games. What the hell do you think his card prices are going to do in this new fangled, I'm going to overreact to everything that's happening? He's also on a good young trendy team. They could make some noise. They could also fail again. They were young and trendy last year too, and they didn't make the playoffs. But he's on a young and trendy team. A lot of people like other players from that team. They're going to have a lot of attention put on him. And he has the propensity to put up massive numbers. And massive numbers usually equate to massive card prices. So this is my favorite one out of all these to stockpile and have them ready to go either right before the season starts or when he starts going crazy, depending on prices. And once again, you can look at his select, you can look at the optic variations, and this stuff applies for all of this. But the moral of the story is show some love to the PSA 9s. Don't forget about them like everybody else does. There is good money to be made on PSA 9s and buying now of NBA PSA 9s and flipping either before the season or in season. That's the general moral of the story, and the primary focus why I wanted to do this list was to shine a little light on our often forgot about PSA 9. That's all I have for you guys today. We will catch you on the next one. Like, comment, sub down below, click on some market movers links, whatever. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.